Hi, I'm Jackson with Wildcard Wilderness. Recently, I just accomplished one of my greatest dreams ever, and that was to hike Sweden's King's Trail, the Kungsleden. It's 270 miles, 2/3 of which are in the Arctic Circle. And today, upon popular request, I'm going to do a gear dump. I'm going to show you the gear that I brought, what worked great, what didn't work great, and actually why I chose to just willfully get rid of half of it. The trail begins in Abisko in Sweden, which is one of the most northern towns, and it ends in Hemavan. The trail is about 270 miles. I clocked in at 302. So the most trafficked part of the trail is in the Abisko National Forest, ending in Kebnekaise, which is Sweden's tallest mountain. After Kebnekaise, however, things begin to be really remote. The fjallstugas are few and far between. There is absolutely no cell reception on this trip until you get to the southern towns. There's parts that are absolutely remote. There was a whole 8 days where I think I had only seen just a small handful of people. So being prepared for a trip like this is imperative, especially in the Arctic Circle. Temperatures can fluctuate like that, heavy winds, heavy rains, and then all of a sudden the skies would open and there'd be rainbows everywhere. Killer rainbow. So packing for your trip is something that you can't really mess up on. I tried not to over prepare for my trip. I tried to kind of been able to get it down. This trip was a little bit special because I went to the UK prior. I did have this added benefit though. About halfway through the trip in the town of Rucksack, I was able to ship some of my stuff to the end of the trail in Hemavan. A woman who managed one of the boat crossings kindly took that box and shipped it for me, and I was able to get the rest of my stuff when I completed the trail. She was an awesome trail angel. So for those of you that are interested in doing this trail, definitely recommend watching this video. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with clothes. Prior to my trip in Sweden, I was actually in the UK for 10 days. And I was at a festival, the Wild and Us Festival. It was fantastic. I highly recommend. You gotta go next year. So there were some things that I brought to the UK that I wound up not using in Sweden. For example, the clothes I'm currently wearing now. However, when you're hiking, you want to carry the bare minimum for weight. So I brought this vest with me to the UK, didn't need it. So for all 21 days of the trail, this is pretty much all that I wore during the day. Pair of pants, tank top, and then I actually might get some scrutiny for this, but I wound up wearing a Saunatech vest. And I brought this because of the frigid temperatures, and this was able to get my core temperature warm. I wasn't really worried about heat exhaustion or sweating too much. There's plenty of water nearby. It is the Arctic Circle. I'm really glad that I wound up bringing it. I did have something lightweight during the day, a rad pull-up sweater. I got this at Bever in Amsterdam. I absolutely love this. It's super lightweight, super warm. I did also wind up bringing a longer pair of leggings for colder temperatures. I only wound up using this for the first half of the trip, and at night my pajamas were essentially a pair of -33 thermals. For an added layer at night or during the day, I have a Lightheart fleece sweater. Super warm. I purchased this at Georgia Bushcraft last year. Fantastic product. It doesn't take up a lot of space, super warm. I did wind up bringing some lighter clothing with me, such as shorts and 2 t-shirts. Wound up not needing these at all. Long wool socks for the evening, longer wool socks for the day. I also wound up bringing a pair of sealskins. If you don't know what sealskins are, they're absolutely fantastic. They're essentially waterproof socks. They also really helped with the mosquitoes. Mosquitoes were absolutely everywhere and horrible there. I highly recommend investing in these. I got these at Bass Pro Shop. Keep your feet pretty dry, but having the sealskins allows you to kind of like push on into some of those streams when you otherwise would be hesitant. My theory behind stream crossing is that I'd rather be wet than have a broken ankle. I'm just gonna bulldoze through them. So having these sealskins gives you that added courage to do so. Wound up having a pair of flip-flops I would change to at night. There's nothing better than taking off your big boots. Okay, so in regards to rain gear, so when I'm hiking, I'm not really a huge fan of ponchos. I just don't really like that like extra fabric draping all over me. So I like to wear a separate rain jacket and pair of pants. And the pants are Guidewear, which I also got at Bass Pro Shop. Fantastic. So all of my clothes were able to fit into a 20-liter stuff sack, and halfway through the trip I actually wound up getting rid of half of my clothes and was able to get that down even more. So I wound up using my Osprey backpack. I've had it for 7 years, but I also have this Osprey mini backpack that goes into your pocket. This was just really great to have getting to Abisko, and then of course leaving Hemavan. So in terms of accessories, I always bring sunglasses. These are polarized. A cap, which also helps with the sun. A buff as well, to just kind of get the sweat off your brow. I also want to bring a beanie, a buff lined with fleece, and some gloves. I think there was only 1 or 2 days where I actually needed those. I would wear the hat at night often though. Temperatures got below freezing, maybe 5 or 6 nights. I use my Black Diamond hiking poles. I've been using them for years. My hiking boot of choice are my Loa Renegades. Water filtration. A lot of people on the trail actually didn't wind up filtering their water at all. It's believed that the rivers and the streams from the mountains are totally clean. I refuse to believe that, since the region is very heavily populated with reindeer, and the reindeer congregate on the glaciers. So I actually bring a Sawyer Mini on my trips. It does come with a flush. Instead of using this with the straw it comes with, what I do is I'll have this Osprey Camelback, all right? And then what I've done is I've actually snipped the hose in half and I put the filter in between. So then what happens is that as I'm consuming the water, I'm actually filtering it also. I would actually carry an extra liter of water on the outside of my pack that I hung with a carabiner. Cookware. I wound up carrying gas with me. I wound up carrying about 10 days worth of food on my back, and I was able to resupply about halfway. Some of the Fjallstugas do actually sell food. So rule of thumb for me personally is that I always have at least 3 days worth of food on me at all times, unknowing of any situation that's going to happen. So if I knew that I was getting close to that or dipping in that, I would be mindful of where I was going to resupply. So I did wind up carrying gas, and luckily that gas actually lasted me the whole trip. I have a little stove here. This stove is Optimus. I got my titanium Light My Fire spork, and I had a stainless steel pot. What's great is that the gas could also fit in this. I think most of us are familiar with these Sea to Summit foldable dishware. I actually never use this at all. Toiletries. First, I actually want to talk about bug spray. The mosquitoes there were absolutely vicious. This is a good day. I did have a bug net just for my head, and I actually sadly lost it about 2/3 of the trip. But there is a product that you can find there called Bushman's. This is, and it's 40% DEET. This is probably very toxic, but works great. When I go on my hikes, I use Wilderness Wash for everything. I'm using this for my dishes, I am using this as shampoo, and I'm using this for my own body. Fantastic product, it's biodegradable. You can find it at REI. This is one of the bigger bottles that they sell, and as you'll see, I actually only went through half of it. That doesn't mean I wasn't washing, it's just so a little goes a long way. I actually wound up carrying this small loofah-like towel. It's from Earth Therapeutics. There are plenty of rivers and streams to rinse your body off, as well as a few saunas in the Fjallstugas. I have a Sea to Summit foldable towel. This was a great idea, but it does not actually do anything for my body. I probably needed a bigger one, so I'm gonna look into a bigger one. Toothpaste, foldable toothbrush. One of the things that I do on my hikes is I actually carry 100% tea tree oil with me. The reason why I do that is that essentially it's antibacterial, so I put it in a little spray bottle and I spray my clothes morning and night with it to both release the odor as well as the bacteria that's in them. I have a chronic inflammatory response syndrome. I tend to overswell when it comes to bites and stings, and so I usually carry BioFreeze with me, and that essentially just allows to alleviate some of the inflammation. It's a neat tip for if you're ever stung with a bee. However, there weren't any bees. However, there were horseflies. The reaction that I got to horseflies was so horrible that I actually had to take a rest day because I was overreacting to these bites. Luckily, I was able to find hydrocortisol cream. Carry moisturizer, sunblock. I take Motrin for sometimes pains that I might have. I use Kinesology tape. This stuff is fantastic. Blister bandages. If you've ever been in Europe, you've probably seen these where they're pretty much sold in every country. These are the best blister bandages or plasters that I have ever seen. They're fantastic. Funny thing is I actually wound up puncturing a small hole in my water vessel, and what wound up working was actually one of these plasters. Neosporin blisters happen. They suck. I had one that was pretty grim that required a lot of maintenance and treatment, and it almost actually took me out, which is crazy to think about. Out of all the things that could possibly take you out of this trip, it was a blister. But luckily, it healed about halfway through and I was able to continue my journey just fine. If you're unfamiliar with moleskins, I highly recommend. Essentially, it's a soft bandage. You can also find these at REI. So additional shelter other than the clothing. I had my MSR Hubba Hubba 2 tent. This was my camping pad. It's a Thermarest Neo Air Light. This is a sleeping bag that I've had for quite some time. It's an REI brand. It's only 3 season, but that was just enough. I have a Cedar Summit pillow. Don't laugh at me. They're awesome. And I also have a sleeping bag liner. Almost everybody on the trail actually had the MSR Hubba Hubba too, but what a lot of people don't, and I found that what a lot of people don't know is that actually it does not come with a footprint. However, you can buy a footprint. I love the MSR Hubba Hubba. I've had it for years. It's lightweight. I think it's less than 3 pounds. I find it very easy to set up. Fantastic product. The seams have held up. I chose to go with a lighter sleeping bag and extra thermals. I believe that the best shelter system begins with the body. So I did also bring polyester thermals on top of my woolen ones. Okay, so next is electronics. So I did wind up using a Goal Zero Nomad 5 solar panel. When I was there, it was the time of the midnight sun. Sun's out all the time. In fact, 3 a.m. was actually the brightest time of day. I was actually really disappointed in this product. It actually really didn't work for me. I believe that they have other products that could have served me better. It does come with a battery pack. It has 4 rechargeable AA batteries. I was only getting a very small charge throughout the day or even throughout the night. Again, it's midnight sun. There was solar all throughout the evening. I would set this outside of my tent and my phone might only gain like a 4% charge. My headlamp, which I use a Petzl Active Core, which does have rechargeable lithium batteries as well as AAA capability. To be honest with you, I think I used this once. There was a mosquito that actually got into my sleeping bag and I had to shine a light on it to kill it. I have a Travel Smart converter. I wound up shipping this halfway through because I only needed one of the converters compared to the one from the UK. I went up using a night ice container for my cell phone. This is an Anker PowerCore 3. It is 25,600 milliamps. It does have some weight to it. However, this was able to give me enough charge for both my phone as well as my Garmin each night for approximately 10 days. I have a GoPro. This is I have the GoPro 8 Black. I actually wound up not using this once. I think for me personally, because I was using my phone to take photos as well as having the Garmin with me, just having another electronic device on me actually wound up being like really distracting. Okay, I want to talk about the Garmin GPS 66i. I love this. First of all, you can do two-way messaging with it. So you have maps, two-way messaging. You can also get basic weather for the next 24 hours. You also have an SOS button, which I thankfully did not have to push. You have to pre-program phone numbers ahead of time via explore.garmin.com. And then this way I can actually look up that contact and send a message. You can send pre-programmed messages, which I believe are for free. This also allows tracking abilities for every 10 minutes. So you can go to a MapShare website and every 10 minutes this will ping and show your location on that map. So to allow people to follow you and see your progress. For the 3 weeks that I was on the trail, I think I received well over 100 messages and I got a bill for like $65, but they were worth every penny. So thank you all. Awesome product. If I couldn't sleep at night, instead of using my phone, I would do Sudoku puzzles. I'm not going to lie, the difficult level is very difficult. This is Outdoor Elements Fire Beaner. This was my most useful tool on this trip. Absolutely love it. Fantastic product and also fantastic people. Other tools that I had a Swiss Army knife, extra cordage if needed. So I also wound up bringing my LT Right Genesis with me. It was actually really awesome to have. It helped me to process firewood and let me have some lakeside firewood. This is Terry. It helped me to repair a hole that was in my mattress. I also recommend Aquashore if you can find it. It's a sealable adhesive. In regards to navigation, if my Garmin did fail on me or if the battery died, I do have a Silva base plate compass. Because it's a well-marked trail, I never actually wound up needing it. However, I did find that having an actual map of the trail was incredibly useful. There is a guidebook from this trail. However, it was published 3 years ago. It is out of date. For example, there are stops that says that there are restaurants and stores when have been shut down since COVID. There are 7 mandatory boat crossings, 2 of which you must row. Now, although Sweden is a cashless society, it was good to have cash for the boat crossings. The pricing in this book is wrong. I got a boat to catch! Ah! So this is before I consolidated my stuff on the trail. And this is the after. All my cookware, toiletries, and electronics were able to fit in this Sea to Summit toiletry bag. I was able to reduce half of my clothes to just this pile. And I actually, when we shipped the bag, it was approximately, 7 kilos, so 20 pounds. So that's how much I was able to get rid of from my bag. Some people had questions about safety and hygiene on the trip. Feel free to message me directly and I'd be happy to answer those. Thank you for watching this video. This was an adventure of a lifetime. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments below. And happy trails. This is the patch I received, and I'm super proud to wear it.